is the Hex Terrain Toolkit, and as you can see, I've got all the pieces out. This, not this little bit, this pile here is done. Completely done. Here are all my empty frames, which I don't need anymore. Like most good things that come with models, they're hard to get rid of. So I've got them. My little piece of trusty sandpaper, just 220 grit. Nothing special. And so I've had one casualty in this whole process. I ended up with the Super Pro, the Super Deluxe, the Super Maker. So one of my I had done about half, I had done a vast majority of these. I've done about half of these, let's say. I hadn't done the cliffs, and I had done a couple of small ones. I thought, well, I should start breaking in one of these big ones. What I had discovered already was all of my tabs, I actually had one of these, all the tabs fit into everything, into every leg, every one of them. The other one needed work just like all the rest. While I was working one of these guys in, one of these smaller half ones in, I ended up cracking, because what I've discovered was even though with most of my tabs needed to be worked in, so did the vast majority of my slots. And what I have come to, I think, recognize and learn here is when working in the slots, use one of these smaller dudes. One of these smaller pieces. My favorite so far are these ones. This one here is my favorite so far. And I'm just learning this now, not one of these guys. Now I have kind of big hands. What these guys have enabled me to do, I'll put the broken one over here. What these guys have enabled me to do is, as I work my piece in, and a lot of my working in was starting at a corner and rolling it out, starting at the other corner, rolling it in, rolling it out, until I had the ability to get it all the way through. And yes, I did round the edges of almost all of these. And then I can walk it down. Now, these have been worked. And to get them off, I use this, and I still do on most of them because they're still nice and firm. This gentle pinching motion, and as I squeeze, I roll my fingers forward, and just that little forward pressure of my fingernails on the back have allowed me to work them off safely. Small one, big one. Let's go to one of these guys. With a big one, oh, look at that. This doesn't fit. Trying to break this tab in, which you just saw fit in that other one pretty well. This doesn't fit at all. There it goes. It does fit. But trying to negotiate this whole piece, even with my big hands, without flexing this and without flexing the leg, I can tell you has been a real trick. So it's on. And that works okay. But I'll say, having broken all of these in, worked all of these in with a shorter one where I can really get my hands around all the different sizes, where I get myself all the way, my fingers in the back, my fingers around, my hand all the way through and all the way around, has made this much easier. I almost broke one of these tonight, and that's why I'm making my very first anything video, is for that. So I have one casualty, which I'll work on a solution there at some point. I've got this one, and you could see with I've done my second long leg tonight, went well. And now I'm working my last long leg, and I'm using a half piece as I get it in for the exact same reason. Because I've worked half of this leg so far. Because I can get my hand around, see there, I can get my hand around this small piece and not have to worry about getting my fingers in there or trying to figure out a grip. And I would say every one of my leg slots has needed to be worked a couple of times, some of them much more, but all of my tabs, but all my leg slots, and working them in a couple times before going on to something bigger like this has been a real benefit. So that's what I've got going, and actually this is my last leg piece to work in. Put that aside, and everything else, the only thing left to do for me is the frame. Once I get the frame worked in, I think, or I guess maybe these T's, all the little T joints, they probably need to be fit too, but we'll get to there. Alright, short, sweet, and hopefully, where's that pinching? And hopefully that will help some of you avoid going from this to that. Can still come up with a solution how to make this work, but let's avoid this if we can.